That was crazy. Excuse me. Hey, Cammy. So, my phone just switched to airplane mode out of nowhere. And I really hope that it saves the live that I just did to my page because there was no way there was no way for me to end the live. Dang it, that's crazy. Um the last thing that I recall it said they asked Olivia what she was going as. She says she's going as a sexy skeleton too. I answered for her. She copied me, Olivia groaned. You can always change your costume. Crystal raised her eyebrows. Olivia rolled her eyes and moaned again. Yeah, there's still time to uncopy me, I said with a laugh. Okay, all done. But keep your mouth closed for 5 minutes while everything dries. Otherwise, I'll have to redo it. The makeup artist said to Olivia. She made a grunted sound and pulled out her phone, setting a timer for 5 minutes. The front door chimed again. And we was doing really good on there. I really only had like, child. Chapter 69, Shannon. I said hello to Mary and walked right to the back. The wives were already there, getting their hair and makeup done. I greeted them all, even Olivia. Olivia nodded and didn't say a word. Her face was done in full skeleton makeup. It looked quite striking and beautiful. Wow, Olivia, that looks good on you. I chuckled as I made my way to the drink table. I poured myself a nice tall glass of wine and set it down to turn my back to Olivia. What? Nothing to say? She can't talk until her makeup. Thank you. She can't talk until her makeup dries, Karen said. Olivia held her phone up, facing the screen towards me. A timer was set down. 3 minutes, 23 seconds. Hey, I love carrots. We are reading One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. Jenny smiled while she curled small sections of Crystal's hair into tiny, tight ringlets. What are you going as? I asked Crystal. I looked in the mirror at me, Sandy from Greece. I nodded and gave her a warm smile. Wonderful. I grabbed a bottle of red wine and champagne and walked around the room, refilling everyone's drinks. Let's get this party started, ladies. That's what I'm talking about, Keisha cheered. I got to Olivia. She held out her glass to me like she expected me to serve her. Her wrist limp, with her skinny fingers held onto it. I tipped the bottle and poured into the red wine spilled onto her lap. Sorry. She scrambled, trying to wipe it off. One of the makeup artists handed her a towel. She dabbed herself dry, keeping composure in her face to ensure her makeup wouldn't be ruined. But her eyes were like daggers. She wanted to hurt me. That much was obvious. She held up her phone. The timer read 1 minute. Was she trying to threaten me? I wasn't scared of Olivia. What about you? Crystal asked. What are you dressing up as? Corpse bride. I spun around, facing the other women. The timer went off. Olivia took a big breath. How fitting, she said. Heck, you don't even need to dress up, Shannon. You're already a single, alone, forgotten nothing, just like a corpse. The only difference is you're not married anymore, Olivia cackled. Everyone else looked around awkwardly. All the venom Olivia held inside of her for 5 minutes had erupted. She took a drink and swallowed hard, realizing she might have gone too far, even for her. I'm just kidding, she added. I'm sure you look nice, Shannon. She took another drink. Anyway, Keisha said, changing the subject, is Mark coming tonight? Karen nodded and didn't say a word. Why? Do you have something to tell him? Olivia asked. Why was she being snarky to Keisha? Keisha never did a dang thing to her. Then again, none of us had. She had always toying with people. She thought she was the dang puppet master. She pulling the strings. Little did she know she was the master of nothing. Oh, Olivia, would it unalive you to be nice? I scowled at her as I threw up my arms. I walked over to the station next to hers and took a seat. Olivia paused and then looked at me. Yes, it would, she curled her lip. I figured as much. You would know, Shannon. You're the queen of mean, she quipped. I gave her an odd look. I knew she was holding on to something, and if I didn't find out now, I never would. Is there a problem, Olivia? I answered honestly. I don't care what her issue is with me. Word, but closure is powerful. One word, Nemo, she said. Her constricted eyes paired with her skeleton makeup made Olivia look terrifying. Nemo? Karen asked. Like the Pixar movie? I thought for a moment, and then it clicked. I knew what Olivia was pissed at me for. No, Karen, not like the movie. Nemo, new money, Olivia spat. That's why you have it in for me? A stupid nickname from years ago? Are you kidding me? I was nearly laughing at the ridiculousness of it all. Amongst other things, she said, dismissing me. I took a drink of my wine. Well, I'm sorry for that, Olivia. I hadn't realized how much I had hurt you, but I'm not that person anymore. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes searched mine, and then they went dark. It's too late for apologies, Shannon. A line has been drawn. She raised her chin at me. I rolled my eyes and took another sip of wine, feeling perfectly okay with the closure, even if Olivia wasn't okay with hers. Olivia got up from her seat and refilled her drink. She sipped it while surveying the room, probably determining who her next target would be. She was one of those women who had issues with every other woman, most likely due to her own insecurities. Her eyes bounced around the room, and finally they settled on Crystal. Hadn't she been through enough? So Bryce will be at the party tonight. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Yes, obviously, it's his house, Crystal said curtly. Jenny continued to curl her hair, paying close attention to Olivia and Crystal's exchange. Good, we have things to discuss, Olivia smirked. Crystal pulled out her phone and busied herself with it. It seems you always have things to discuss with married men, Karen cut in. Let me see if we can pin your comment. Oh, child. Girl, I removed him. I think you have to like click on the person's name. Oh, I don't know. Child, don't have me lying. It seems you always have things to discuss with married men, Karen cut in. It would appear someone in a horse too high for their own morals. Olivia eyed her up and down. Keisha finished Karen's makeup and helped her out of the chair. It's beautiful, Karen said, admiring her freshly painted face. She walked over to the drink table where Olivia was standing. They stood only a foot apart, staring at one another, both wearing full skeleton makeup. I'd be careful with her accusations, Olivia narrowed her eyes. Karen took a step closer to Olivia. Or what? She jutted her chin up. Or that makeup might be a little more permanent. Olivia's teeth gritted together. Now, ladies, this isn't the time. Can we have one night where we can all be civilized to one another? I said. Olivia stuck her nose up and walked over to Keisha's station, taking a seat in the chair. She flipped her hair over the shoulder in a dramatic fashion, giving Keisha a commanding look. Keisha rolled her eyes but didn't say a word. She pulled out a comb and a curling iron and started in on Olivia's hair. I agree with Shannon, Jenny says. We're ladies. We can act like ladies. Oh, Shannon, I forgot to ask. Did that guy who stood you up ever contact you again? Olivia asked, attempting to keep a straight face. I narrowed my eyes, but then relaxed them. No, he didn't. You must feel awful. I know I would, Olivia raised her brows. His loss, Jenny said with a smile. It was nice to have some support. I still didn't love the idea of a party being thrown in my old house with my ex-husband, but then again, if everything went according to plan, it wouldn't be his house for much longer. Chapter 70, Crystal. I arrived home less than an hour before the party was set to begin. I opted to stay at the salon as long as I possibly could, just so that I didn't have to spend my additional time alone with Bryce. I didn't know how to be around him. I tried to act like my normal self, but knowing who he was, what he was capable of, and what he had done terrified and enraged me. I wanted to unalive him. After Olivia finally left, Karen, Keisha, Shannon, and Jenny and I had a nice time sipping wine and chatting. I walked in through the front door, passing by a man dressed in a tux and a mask like the Phantom of the Opera. He was lining trays with the glasses of champagne. It would be a nice welcome for our party guests. The house was completely decorated just as I had envisioned it. The bartender was finishing up with prepping the bar. The caterers were putting out all of the food. The DJ was getting his music set up out by the red pool. I was dressed in a skin-tight black leather pants and a cropped-off shoulder top and 6-inch heels. My hair was big and curly. My eyes were extra smoky, and my lips were painted a deep red color. Bryce strolled down the stairs dressed in a cowboy costume. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and then his face sported a look of disappointment. I thought you were dressing up like a cowgirl. That's why I'm wearing this dang thing. He gestured to his own childish costume. I changed my mind. I looked away from him and pretended to straighten up some decorations. Thank you so much. I'm disappointed, but not too much. You look incredible. He walked to me and wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, kissing my bare shoulder. I nearly shuddered. I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. I closed my eyes and took a small breath. Act normal. Act normal. Tell me about it, stud, I said in my best Sandy voice. Shannon advised me to act like Sandy would whenever I felt uncomfortable with Bryce. He pressed into me and a little harder. I could feel his longing for me on my lower back. Maybe we have time for a quickie before the guests arrive. He whispered hot breath into my ear. No, I have a few more finishing touches, and I don't want to ruin my costume. I was matter of fact stern with my answer. The last thing I wanted to do was have sex with my husband. He knows me a little more. You're no fun. He playfully touched my hair, pulling a strand of it straight and then letting it string back into a tight curl. Can I get a scotch on the rocks? Bryce backed away from me and redirected his attention to the bartender. The bartender nodded and almost immediately had a drink in his hand. Anything for you, Mrs. Madison? The bartender asked. Before I could answer, Bryce cut in. Oh no, she's much too busy for a drink. Child, what the? Actually, I'll have a vodka soda. Thank you. Bryce took a big swig of his drink and looked me over. When are the guests arriving? The bartender handed me a tall vodka soda. I took a long drink, trying to ready myself to even speak to this man. A few days ago, I knew him as my husband, my lover, my soulmate, and now I knew him as a monster and a murderer. I wasn't sure if I was going to survive this night. I was positive Bryce had no idea I knew about him, but could I have kept him in the dark long enough? Olivia must have been holding on to that secret, probably to use it later against me or Bryce. I couldn't stand playing nice with him. If he found out that I knew, would he have me unalive? Would he unalive me himself? He wasn't the type of man to get his own hands dirty. Would he grovel and try to politic his way out of it? Shannon knew too. What would he do to her? I felt like I was standing in a zoo enclosure with a lion that didn't realize that I was backed into a corner. Any minute now, I sipped my drink. Did you see Olivia today? I didn't look over at him. Yeah, she was at the salon. I could feel his burning eyes on me. He was trying to read me, trying to determine if Olivia had told me. Little did he know, I was the one who told Olivia. I was clear that he had spoken to her now. Had they made an arrangement? Were they working together? It wouldn't surprise me. Did she say anything to you? I heard him clink the ice in his drink as if he were having a casual everyday conversation, but there was nothing casual about this. I walked over to the tables covered with food. I pretended to check them all over. About what? I feigned interest. Never mind. He leaned against the counter, sipping his scotch. Was she supposed to tell me something? Two could play this question game. I had learned very well from Bryce. Are the rest of the girls coming? Mine and Shannon, of course. He quickly changed the subject. Yes, and Shannon is coming. I picked my drink up and looked at him. His eyes widened. Really? She must be more desperate than I thought she was, Bryce laughed. I took another drink, slowly sipping, deciding what to say to this man. You did invite her. What makes accepting an invitation desperate? Perhaps you wanted her to come. I raised an eyebrow. Jealous, aren't you? Is that why you're so tense? Don't like the ex-wife interfering with our new life? He took another slow sip of his scotch. Yeah, that's it, I nodded. I would let him believe what he wanted to believe. For now. My attention was diverted from Bryce when I heard a loud, commanding voice from the front door. I was relieved at the interruption. Of course, I'll have a glass of champagne. What a nice touch, Shannon said, and she was early. I knew it took all the strength in the world for her to even come here tonight, and I admire and appreciate her for that. She held on to my secret, a secret that literally could have destroyed me. Shannon was a good woman. She was an angry woman, but decent to her core, and I was proud to call her my friend. Hello, I called out, my voice light and cheerful. Shannon found Bryce and me standing awkwardly in the kitchen. Her zombie makeup looked incredible. Somehow she made it look elegant and sophisticated. Only Shannon could do that. The wedding dress was torn and sort of sexy look. It was a designer, of course. She took a small sip of her champagne and looked at me with concern, and then at Bryce with disgust. The place looks wonderful, she gushed. Thank you. I think it came together really well. I glanced around, admiring the decor. It's so nice being married to someone with talent for a change, Bryce quipped. Too bad Crystal and I never experienced that, Shannon smirked. Bryce looked her up and down before the video. I assumed that he was trying to intimidate her or was checking her out, but now I thought that he was probably thinking of all the different ways he could unalive her. His features used to be soft to me, his eyes warm, but now everything about him was cutting, dark, and cold. I love the dress. Where did you get it? I asked, changing the subject. It wasn't the time for fighting. We had bigger fish to fry. It's actually the dress that I wore when I married Bryce. She laughed, taking another sip. I almost laughed too. Shannon took petty to a whole nother level. You tore up your wedding dress? I paid $15,000 for it, Bryce seethed. It's not like I was ever going to wear it again. She waved her hand dismissively. You're right, he laughed. I couldn't imagine anyone else taking that bullet. Bryce drained the rest of his drink. I grabbed Shannon by her arm. Let me show you out back, I said, pulling her outside. Why don't you get yourself another drink and put the crime scene tape on the stairs? I suggested to Bryce as I walked away. Once outside, the DJ began to play music. Servers bustled around with trays of drinks and appetizers. I walked Shannon over to the Red Chase Lounge on the other side of the pool. We both took a seat, and I made sure Bryce wasn't looking at us, that we were out of his earshot. What's the plan then? I took another drink. My eyes bounced between Shannon and the patio door. Just keep Bryce away from his office. I'll get in there and get what we need, she said matter-of-factly. Then what? We take him down. Shannon pursed her lips. Party's here. Keisha called from inside the house. Shannon and I quickly got up and walked back in, finding Keisha, Karen, and Jenny. Karen wore a skin-tight black spandex suit with skeleton bones on it, 6-inch stilettos, a long brown wig, and a red Saint Laurent purse. She was also clearly wearing a major push-up bra. For a moment there, I thought that she was Olivia. Keisha and Jenny were adorably dressed as Cher and Dion from Clueless in plaid blazers, miniskirts, and flawless makeup and hair. Are we the first to arrive? Jenny asked. Shannon and I nodded in unison. A server handed each of them drinks. Perfect, Karen raised her glass. Cheers to the Day of the Dead. Chapter 71, Jenny. Present. I paced back and forth in the small interrogation room. Detective Stanford had left to take a call, leaving me alone for a few moments to collect my thoughts. This whole process is taking far longer than I had anticipated. The door opens. So where were we? Stanford asked, his voice entering the room before him. He walks in, takes a seat, and his head never coming up with the pages of his notebook. I mirror his movements and sit down across from him. Ah, yes. So you're at the party. I nod. That's right. Did you notice anything unusual at the party? He rubs his chin. Not particularly. And Shannon was in attendance? I nod. Would you have deemed that unusual, given the circumstances? Yes and no. True, she hated Bryce with a passion, but she was warming up to Crystal. I pulled the ponytail holder from my wrist and tied up my hair. Did he and them ever leave the party together? Not that I saw. What about Karen? Did she leave the party? Not that I saw. Keisha? I don't think so. Olivia? I shook my head. Any of them leave? I told you, not that I saw. He lets out a huff and scribbles some notes down. He's worn out, his eyes heavier than they were for hours before. His appearance had become more and more disheveled throughout the day. Buttons undone, loose tie, wrinkled shirt. He is unraveling right before my eyes. Buckhead made people crazy, but rarely that quickly. You're not asking the right questions, I finally say. My patience with Detective Stanford had worn thin. He stops for a moment and then looks up at me. It's probably the first time since meeting him that he actually properly looked at me. Not just in my direction while asking questions, not just unprofessional, uncertain manner. He is looking me in my eyes, curiosity, suspicion, doubt. I'm not sure why, but I finally have his attention. And what, may I ask, are the right questions? He holds his gaze tightly fixed on me, a boxer waiting for the opponent to swing. Ask me about Bryce. Okay, so I don't know how many chapters this book is. Oh. So we're going to read 4 more chapters. We're going to read to chapter 75, so tomorrow we'll just finish the last 10 chapters. I don't know why I thought it was 70 chapters. Chapter 72, Olivia. Dean and I arrived at the party, late of course. The more important you are, the later you arrive. It lets people know that your time is more valuable than theirs. I assumed the girls had already arrived, or had arrived early. I laughed to myself as Dean helped me out of the limo. He was dressed in an orange jumpsuit as he had chosen to go as a prison inmate. How fitting. He didn't see the irony in the costume. Oh, but I did. I hadn't told Dean about the video or my arrangement with Bryce. It was best to keep men of low intelligence in the dark. He was my husband, but he was also the one that got us into this mess in the first place. I certainly couldn't trust him to fix it. You look beautiful, Dean whispered into my ear. I was dressed in a skin-tight black bodysuit with skeleton bones, graphic 6-inch stilettos, a red Saint Laurent bag, and perfectly brown blown-out hair. I kissed him on the cheek and he led me to the front door where a man wearing a Phantom of the Opera mask was standing with a tray of champagne glasses. He welcomed us and we each took a glass. We walked into the house. It was impeccably decorated and on theme. The house was lit with only crystal chandeliers, candles, and party lights, making it difficult to see others. There were spider webs and skeletons and red bead curtains throughout. All the servants were dressed like dominatrix, um, clad with leather and chains. The music boomed throughout the house, and the place was crowded with most everyone who was anyone from Buckhead. Dean and I made our way to the pool area where the decor continued. Bryce and Crystal went all out. Dean said in my ear, "With our money," I said under my breath. The music was turned down a couple of notches. I scanned the party and found Crystal chatting with Shannon on the far end of the pool. What were they talking about? Actually, why were they even talking to one another? "Get us something to eat," I said to Dean as I walked away from him. As I got closer, Karen, Keisha, and Jenny joined the gathering. "Hello, ladies," I said, surveying each of them. My eyes stopped on Karen. Oh, you have got to be effing kidding me. It was like looking in a dang mirror. She looked exactly like me, even down to the purse, the one she had given me today. Why the heck does she have the two of the same red Saint Laurent purse? "Wow, Karen, look at you. They do say the imitation is the sincerest form of flattery," I said, sipping my champagne. Is it the only way that you is this the only way you can get Mark into bed?" Karen's eyes tightened. I thought for sure she would strangle me right then and there. I watched Keisha's hand slide behind Karen's back. She was rubbing it. Karen was clearly having her cake and carpet munching it too. Well, I wondered if I could get more money out of her. It seemed she had no intention of telling Mark the truth, nor breaking it off with him or Keisha. "I think you both look great," Jenny says. "Anyways, always a peacekeeper. Never anything else. Such a bore of a person." "This party really is wonderful," Crystal, Karen gushed. "Yes, I was going to say the same thing. It looks extravagant and expensive." I raised an eyebrow at Crystal. "And where's the host of the evening? It wouldn't be able to enjoy myself until I had the money." "He's around." Crystal looked away from me. "I have to check in with the caterers." "Do you need any help?" Shannon asked. I hadn't even noticed her. She was nothing. Crystal nodded and the two walked off. I didn't like that they were getting along, but it was something I'd take care of after my arrangement with Bryce was completed. Shannon's apology was too late. Sincerely, if she would have apologized the night it happened, it would have been too late. Her whole "I'm not the same person anymore" was a load of crap. People don't change. Crystal had her ex-husband and I had her chairwoman position. There was nothing left in Buckhead for Shannon. I took another slow sip of my champagne, scanning the party. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out of my purse. It was a text from Bryce. "Meet me in 10 minutes in the guest house. Back door is unlocked." I smiled and stole my phone. Perfect. Everything was going according to plan. Karen gave me a peculiar look when she noticed I was smiling. "What are you so happy about?" she snipped. "I get to be me. Why wouldn't I be happy?" Chapter 73, Shannon. "He's at the bar. You're good to go," Crystal said as she watched her husband chat with Dean and Mark. She handed me a key. "Text me if he's coming." She nodded. I walked into the kitchen and then stumbled into the foyer, acting as though I was tipsy. If anyone asked where I was going or what I was doing, I would pretend to be inebriated. Not far-fetched, considering my recent history of overindulging at social events, but tonight I was sober. I crawled under the crime tape and made my way up the stairs undetected. Everyone was mostly outside, except for a few servers and workers, but the help never asked questions. I stood in front of Bryce's office door, key in hand. Crystal had taken it earlier. Made a copy and returned the original before Bryce noticed it was missing. This was it. We were going to take the monster down. I slid the key in the lock and turned it. It opened with ease. I tiptoed into the office, locked the door behind me. I texted Crystal. "I'm in." Powering up the computer, I took a seat at the large oak desk. A password screen popped up. Password. Good. He's still at the bar. Bryce 2024. The text popped up on my phone. I rolled my eyes. This moron actually thinks he's running for president in 2024. I quickly typed it in. The computer booted up. I browsed the desktop searching for the folder Crystal had mentioned. It wasn't there. I went to search for the bar and typed in insurance policy. No result. Crap, it's not here. The folder isn't here. I started clicking anything and everything. Each folder that opened wasn't what we were looking for. He must have deleted it. Must have gotten scared when Olivia went to him. I knew we had made some sort of deal. I texted up my screen. He's coming. Get out of there now. Crap. I quickly closed out of everything and turned off the computer. I heard footsteps outside the office door. I glanced around the room frantically. There was no closet to hide in. I crouched down, crawled under the desk, and put the chair in as far as it would go. The key slid into the lock. The door opened. The lights flickered, and a phone rang. Bryce Madison, he said. There was silence as he walked further into his office. I'm taking care of it now. He opened the desk drawer. I was barely out of sight. I held my breath. I had never been afraid of Bryce before, but knowing what he had done, what he was doing, I was terrified. People without morals were meant to be terrified. Well, people without morals were meant to be feared. It ends tonight, he said. He hit the button on his phone and slid it back into the pocket of his pants. He closed the desk drawer, and I heard a click, followed by a click, click, click. He has a gun. I quickly text Crystal without even looking at my phone. I heard him rustle around a bit more, the sound of a zipper on the bag, things being tossed around, and the gun, the bullet sliding into the clip into the chamber, and the hammer being pulled back. He was going to use that gun tonight. Oh, I'm reading on my phone. My phone is right here, so I'm reading on my phone. And I have a moderator in the comments muting everybody that's being rude. Chapter 74, Crystal. Crap, are you okay? I fired off the message. I didn't know what to do. I walked to the foyer ready to charge up those stairs and do whatever I needed to. The crime scene tape was ripped down. Bryce had clearly been in a hurry. I kept staring at the phone, waiting for Shannon to text me back to tell me everything was just fine. Just as I was about to bolt up the stairs, Bryce came jogging down them. Party's down here, he said. I said calmly. He was carrying a duffel bag and had a look of determination on his face. I have to run an errand. I'll be back in a bit, he said as he reached me. Now? But the party? I pouted. I know. I won't take long. He kissed me on the forehead. You're going to miss the fireworks show. I won't, I promise. I have to go. He walked out of the front door, closing it behind him. I took a deep breath and ran up the stairs as fast as I possibly could. Shannon hadn't texted back. Out of breath, I tried to open the office door, but it was locked. I pounded on it. Shannon, I cried out, open the door. Are you okay? I pressed my ear against the door, but I didn't hear anything. I jiggled the knob and pounded and kicked. OMG, what did he do? My eyes welled up with tears as I banged harder. The door unlocked and opened. Even though Shannon was wearing heavy Halloween makeup, I could tell underneath that she was pale as a ghost. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her in for a tight hug. Thank God you're okay, I exclaimed out of breath. Did you get my text? I released her, still holding her shoulders. Yes, where's he going with the gun? I have no idea. Guns didn't bother me. I had one. Heck, everyone in Texas had one, but they didn't walk around with the sinister look that Bryce had on his face. Last chapter for tonight, and we'll come back tomorrow. Chapter 75, Karen. So what are you going to do? Keisha asked, her eyebrow raised, her lip quivered. She wanted an answer about us. We were standing off the side of the pool between the DJ booth and the bar that was set up outside. The party was so crowded and loud, I could barely think. Would I leave Mark for her? Would I tell him the truth? Or would I pretend none of this ever happened and go back to being an unhappy wife with those husband who cheats on her? Yes, what I suspected was true. Mark was sleeping with Olivia. I found out just earlier in the day. The private investigator sent pictures of Mark entering Olivia's house last week and then leaving about an hour later. That was all the proof I needed. Mark was a plastic surgeon. He didn't do house calls. I knew the only thing that he was doing was Olivia. I swirled my vodka soda and took a long drink. Well, Keisha put her hand on her hip. I looked at her and then over at Mark. He was dressed in a lab coat with the stethoscope around his neck. How original. He was drinking near the bar with Dean but kept glancing around the room. He was looking for someone, probably Olivia. I couldn't effing believe she blackmailed me for sleeping with Keisha when she was sleeping with my husband the whole time. Jenny walked back over to us and with a fresh drink in hand. Have you two seen Crystal or Shannon? She asked. Not in a while, I said, glancing around the party. It was packed. The music was loud. People were dancing. The drinks were flowing. There were even people swimming in the pool. There they are, Keisha pointed to Crystal and Shannon as they came out of the house. Oh, and there's Olivia, flirting with my effing husband. Olivia walked over to Dean and whispered in his ear. She then turned to Mark and stroked his arm. Then she disappeared inside. That's it. I'm confronting him, I declared. Don't. It's not the time, Keisha urged. She grabbed my arm, but I shrugged her off. I turned back to her for a moment. It's now or never, I said, and I strutted right up toward Mark. Keisha tried to stop me again, but I was determined. I looked back and saw she was following me, so I quickened my pace. We need to talk, I said forcefully to Mark. He looked at me and then took another drink. About what? He was nonchalant in his answer. About you effing Olivia, I nearly yelled. Mark tried to quiet me as Dean was standing only a few feet away, chatting with a couple of the guys. He hadn't heard, because if he would have, he would have unalived Mark right then and there. Mark tried to pull me aside, but I didn't budge. Tell me the truth, I demanded. Lower your voice, he glanced around again, making sure no one was listening. Nothing happened with Olivia. Don't lie to me, you a-hole. Did Olivia tell you this? Jesus Christ. Even after I effing paid her? I couldn't believe it, the irony of it all. A small chuckle worked its way out of me, and then more and more until I fully on hysterical laughter, doubling over dramatically. What's so funny? Mark asked. That evil bee. I was struggling to speak in between laughing. You paid her for sex, and I paid her to keep her mouth shut, I said, connecting the dots for him. She was playing both of us all alone. He hung his head in shame and then picked it back up, ready to explain. I raised my hand to stop him. Don't bother. I'm leaving you. Don't do this. I promise I'll be better. I love you, Karen, he begged. I'm not in love with you. I'm in love with someone else, and I want a divorce. The words came out of me like butter, smooth and easy. What the H? With whom? Anger took residence on his face. He turned red and his mouth tightened. With her, I pointed back at Keisha, who was standing a few feet behind me. Goodbye, Mark. I turned away from him and walked right up to Keisha, not stopping for a moment. I heard him rant about how I was embarrassing myself and him. I wrapped my arms around Keisha and kissed her. I kissed her hard. I could hear Mark scream and yell as he took off inside. Some people cheered, some gasped. Others were audible with their feelings of disgust. None of that mattered. The only thing that mattered in the moment was Keisha and me. Loud bangs echoed almost like gunshots. We stopped kissing. Above us, bright fireworks pierced the night sky. We laughed and kissed again. It was truly magical, a night we will never forget. Well, dang. I really wish I could stay up and finish this, but I gotta go to sleep because I gotta go to the gym in the morning. But thank y'all so much for joining. Hopefully the other live that I did loaded. So this is part 6, which was only supposed to be part 5. My phone accidentally switched to airplane mode in the middle of me reading, so hopefully both will go up, but this will be posted since I'm ending it myself, and we'll be back tomorrow. If we don't come back tomorrow, because I do work Saturday morning, we'll be back Saturday night. So look for me either tomorrow or Saturday night so we can finish up the book, and then we will be having the book club meeting on Sunday. I think I may go live on YouTube to have a book club meeting with y'all, and we'll do the book club meeting on Zoom. But I'll see y'all later.